Hey guys, hoping all is well with everybody. In this video, we're going to be continuing the read-along of The Secret Zoo by Brian Chick, and today we're going to be starting with chapter 21. As always, I'll be showing you any pictures as we come across them, but please feel free to follow along. Chapter 21, Noah Has Company. Noah walked alongside the glass wall of the aquarium in Penguin Palace. He could only think of one thing: going inside. Inside to the inside. He wasn't sure what that meant or how to do it, but he knew it started with getting into the aquarium. On the other side of the glass wall, the penguins followed him. Most looked ordinary, but some had messy thickets of orange feathers. Each one waddled along the edge of the icy island, flapping its flippers. They kept bumping into one another, and occasionally one slipped on the ice and splashed into the water. If I worked here, Noah said to himself, how would I get inside this exhibit? How would I... Thap, 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 thap. He sucked back his breath. Someone was on the other side of the aquarium, near the back of the building. By the sound of it, that someone was coming toward him. The penguins crowded the edge of the ice and bobbed into the water. The person kept making that strange noise. Thap, 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 thap. It sounded like a baseball card caught in the spoke of a bicycle wheel. Thap, 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 thap. It didn't miss a beat, and it was just around the corner. Noah was about to turn and run when he saw not a person, but a penguin. The bird was black and white and had a yellow patch below his neck. He stood a couple of feet high, and his flippers looked remarkably like long, slender pancakes. He waddled forward as fast as he could go, so his flat feet slapped the concrete. Thap, 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 thap. He was headed straight for Noah. Behind him, a second penguin turned the corner. Then a third, a fourth, a fifth, more and more until a crowd of penguins was rushing toward him. They kept bumping into and falling over one another. Within seconds, Noah was surrounded by the strange birds. He felt the cold rising from their bodies. It was amazing how different they looked outside the aquarium. Their bodies, glossy with ice water, were more colorful and full-dimensional. For the first time, the penguins seemed real. I need to get inside your aquarium, Noah said. Can you guys show me how? A couple of penguins bumped into his legs, urging him to walk in the direction that they'd come from. Okay, Noah said. Lead the way. The penguins did exactly that. Chapter 22. Ella Becomes Speechless. Ella and Richie sat in a quiet spot outside Metropolis under a lamppost, trying to figure out where Noah might have gone. Arctic Town, Richie said. All that stuff that happened with Blizzard, I'm sure he picked Arctic Town. What about the Forest of Flight? Ella asked. Or maybe he went to see that monkey with the long tail. I don't know. Me neither. Ella stared up at the sky, a blank canvas for the portrait of her thoughts. For a moment, none of them spoke. Then Richie said in a weak voice, Ella? Not now, Richie. I'm thinking. You're gonna want to see this, he insisted. Ella looked at him. His face was white. His expression was blank, as if he felt no emotion, or as if he felt so many emotions that they canceled one another out like the variables in Mrs. Bluss's mind-bending algebra equations. Ella's eyes followed his gaze, and she gasped with fright. Finally, Richie spoke very quietly. What are they? Ella had no words. Not for this. Chapter 23. Marching with Penguins. The penguins led Noah to a door in the wall opposite the aquarium. The sign read, Employees Only. 3 penguins jumped at the door and thrust it open. Inside was a narrow hallway with a steep wooden floor. The penguins led Noah up the ramp. A few feet ahead, the passageway swung around a sharp turn. One penguin lost its balance and rolled down the ramp, knocking over penguins like bowling pins. Looking dazed but no less determined, the fallen penguins jumped to their feet and started their climb again. The hallway straightened out and headed toward the aquarium. Moments later, Noah felt cold air rising through the floor. The aquarium was directly beneath them. They reached an open doorway framed with ice. One by one, the penguins leaped through it and dropped out of sight. Noah leaned through the doorway to take a peek and slipped on the snow-covered ramp. He tumbled down and landed flat on the icy shore. The penguins following behind him trampled across his back in single file. Each time, Noah tried to yell, "Stop!" A webbed foot landed on his head and pressed his face into the snow. Finally, when all the penguins had crossed over him, he worked his way to his feet and looked around. The inside of the aquarium was covered in snow, frost, and ice. Penguins were everywhere, and the black eyes of each suited bird were pinned on him. Noah dusted the snow off his jacket. His breath rose from his mouth like steam. He didn't know what the birds expected from him, so he simply stated his purpose. "I'm looking for a penguin named Podgy." Chapter 24. Avalanche of Fur. Ellis stared in disbelief. "What are they?" Richie asked again. 50 yards away, hundreds of little animals were charging towards them. They covered a long stretch of sidewalk and spilled onto the grass. Standing just higher than someone's ankles, they were packed so tightly together that they looked like the rushing mass of an avalanche of fur. "Richie," Ellis said slowly, "those things look like rats." "I was hoping you wouldn't say that," Richie said. "Rats are friendly, right? I mean, that stuff in movies about rats being mean, they just say that to freak you out, right?" "I don't know," Ellis said. "You're the one with the big brain." As the animals approached, they grew noisier. Their pin-sized claws scratched the sidewalk and made a high-pitched shh, shh sound. The animals were barking, but their barks were quiet and squeaky. "Yip, yip, yip." "Hold on," Ellis said. "Those aren't rats. They're gophers." The closer they came, the easier they were to see. They had short legs, squat, chubby bodies, and heads that looked like furry tennis balls. When they reached the scouts, they surrounded them and sat on their hind legs, exposing their fat, fuzzy underbellies. They watched Elliot and Richie as if they were expecting the children to do something. Now that they were so close, their yipping sounds were louder than ever. "These are prairie dogs," Richie said, "not gophers." Ella leaned toward Richie and said, "Whatever they are, I'm guessing they know who we are." Richie turned around in circles, eyeing the prairie dogs suspiciously. "I'm guessing you're right." "You know what else I'm guessing?" "What?" "I'm guessing they know Megan. And not only that, but they know where she is. And that's where Noah's headed." "If we can't trust Tank," said Richie said, "how do you know we can trust these guys?" "I don't. All I know is we gotta help Noah." Richie nodded. Ella looked down at the animals and said, "Okay, furballs, show us what you wanted to show us." The massive prairie dogs turned and headed back in the direction they'd come from, escorting the scouts through the dark, cold night. And I'll stop the video there, but in our next video, we'll be continuing on with chapter 25. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please take good care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take good care.